What's going on, guys? This is the Mediocre at Best Sports Podcast with Realistic Randy. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm sorry to disappoint you if you were looking for a podcast talking about OTAs. All right, let's talk about some six-string wide receiver and all the routes he's running in shorts and all that fun stuff. I have no interest in that sort of thing. So anyway, what this podcast is about is I was going to double down on the article that I wrote for the Viking Age earlier this week, talking about why the Minnesota Vikings should consider signing Richie Incognito to the team, because you have a void at the guard position, particularly at the right guard spot, especially with Joe Berger retiring. So my thing was, in the draft, I was expecting the Vikings, especially with this big need on the offensive line, not only just with the right guard spot, but as far as significant depth, so to speak, after ignoring it for the last several years, I was expecting the Vikings, or at least hoping that the Vikings would take two offensive linemen within their first 3 picks in the draft. Ultimately, they elected to take Mike Hughes, cornerback out of UCF, and Brian O'Neill, project tackle out of Pitt. So now my thing was, the last podcast I did, I said, you know what, I give this a D, because Mike Hughes, look, I'm not going to poo-poo on that pick. He could turn out to be a fantastic player. I'm not doubting that he will. But as far as the need that you had to make, as far as the pick is concerned in the draft, was a guard, offensive lineman, someone that could be a day one starter. And not to say that taking Mike Hughes was a bad pick. You still in the second round had a chance to possibly trade up in the second round to address that guard spot, and you elected not to do it. So my thing was, you know what? This offensive line, the projected offensive line, at least for me anyway, Riley Reef is the left tackle, Nick Easton is left guard, Pat Elflein is the center. You would probably move Mike Remmers to shift them from right tackle to right guard, and then Rashad Hill would be your right tackle. And that's not to say that projected offensive line is going to be bad. It could be very, very good. Rashad Hill did a very good job last year from what I could tell. This could be a very good starting unit offensive line. But two things we should look at. Number one, it's football. Everybody's going to get hurt. If you expect everyone to just be 100% healthy all the time, I don't know what to tell you. It's the sport of football. Dudes are going to get hurt. It just happens. And then not only that, we have a track record of dudes going down, specifically on the offensive line. So I thought, you know what, you should address that, but you didn't in the draft. So that's why I gave them a D. But anyway, moving forward from there, on Monday, the news broke out. Richie Incognito, guard from Buffalo, Richie Incognito was released from the retired reserve list of the Buffalo Bills, so he is now an unrestricted free agent. And to that, I said, wow, this presents an opportunity for the Vikings that, you know what, you botched the draft, you didn't get your guard, you didn't get your starting guard there, but you know what, this is an opportunity to make up for that. And you know what, Richie Incognito, he's a damn good player. According to Pro Football Focus, he's the 12th best guard in the NFL. And I was saying to myself, you know what? He's primarily played left guard for most of his career. He did do, I believe, 2 years in St. Louis with the Rams as far as playing right guard. That was before the St. Louis Rams became the LA Rams. But he did do 2 years playing right guard. But you know what? Even if he can't necessarily, if he can't transition to right guard now, especially after playing left guard for so long in Miami and in Buffalo, you know what? It still gives you multiple options as far as different combination packages for a starting offensive line unit, whereas right now, your offensive line is pretty much what it is. Okay, so he at least gives you options. He's a damn good player, and the only question mark for that guy, for Richie Incognito, was character concerns, locker room cancer, so to speak. And yes, the bullying scandal against Jonathan Martin when he was with the Miami Dolphins, he went off on racist rants and all that terrible stuff. And I said to myself, you know what? In that article I wrote on the Viking Age, I said, you know what? If we're talking about a guy that was still a pompous ass, because Richie Incognito was a complete pompous ass. He was a complete POS back then. But here's the thing. In Buffalo, I believe he played 3 years in Buffalo the last 3 seasons. I say, you know what? This dude has turned his life around. He apparently, or maybe not his life, I don't know this dude personally, but he at least has seemingly turned his career around. There's been articles and multiple not citations, but I guess quotes from teammates and coaching staff about how they support this dude, Richie Incognito. And not only that, but coming from Miami, that whole scandal against Jonathan Martin, going to Buffalo, if there was any type of slip up whatsoever from this dude, oh, the media would have been all over it. They would have been looking for any reason to just rake this dude through the coals. But you know what? He hasn't had that issue the last 3 years. So I said, hey, this is a position of need that you have. This is a damn good player, 12th best at his position, according to Pro Football Focus. And as far as any type of concerns about behavioral concerns or locker room issues or what have you, dividing the locker room, it didn't seem to be there because the last 3 years he has done so well as far as keeping things under wrap and being a very productive player. The only thing that I would have done if I was Rick Spielman at that point is I would have said, hey, I would have brought in my key players, that my most important players, that especially the ones that I would consider over the long haul, like Stephon Diggs, Kirk Cousins, and all those players like that, even on defense, so to speak, too, like Harrison Smith, Eric Hendricks, whoever it is. I would have brought them in and say, hey, what do you guys think about the possibility of bringing in Richie Incognito? Because I believe in sports, and especially nowadays, not even in sports, but even employers or what have you, no matter what it is you do, it's good to make your employees feel valuable. And not only that, just to make them feel valuable, you should take input from them. You'll never know what kind of ideas you can get, especially different perspectives left and right. So I would have been like, you know what do you guys think about bringing in Richie Incognito? If they would have said, hey, it's all good, he's a damn good player, bring him in, I've got no issue with him, great. And if not, you probably would have had to do some deeper thinking from there. So anyway, I was like, hey, I wrote an article, bring in Richie Incognito. He could solve the problems for the Vikings as far as, look, you signed Sheldon Richardson to a one-year deal. So don't tell me that signing Richie Incognito to a one-year deal would have been a bad idea. You're apparently all in 2018. Sheldon Richardson isn't going to be here next year unless he takes a team-friendly deal, and he's not. Why the hell would he? He's a damn good player. So I said, bring in Richie Incognito. Sign him. Okay, and this could be the missing piece. You could put Mike Remmers back to right tackle. Rashad Hill could be a valuable depth piece if someone goes down, and you could just go on from there. And then 48 hours later, 48 freaking hours later, after being released from the Buffalo Bills, this is you're a free agent. You're auditioning yourself for multiple teams. You should probably be on your best behavior. But you know what? I got up on Wednesday morning. So right now, let me explain how this works. So I work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. I do 4/10s. Wednesdays are usually the days that I have off. This particular Wednesday, and quite honestly for the last month or so, I've been hella busy doing stuff at work. But anyway, this particular Wednesday, I said, you know what? It's been maybe 2 weeks since I did a podcast. Because, look, I'm not going to sit here and talk about some OTAs and dudes in shorts and break down, what 6th-round pick do you think? I'm not interested in doing that. I'm not going to be fake for you guys. I think I need to be, I need to be authentic. I need to stick to who I am. So this story broke out as far as Richie Incognito being a free agent. I said, this is perfect. I wrote an article about it, and then I was doing a podcast. So anyway, I woke up extra early Wednesday morning, right before I had to head to work. I said, I'm going to do this podcast this morning. Got on there, was kissing Richie Incognito's ass. Oh, this is going to be a good fit. We all just bring him in, and it's a one-year deal. No big deal. You can move on after next year. It doesn't restrict you from signing Stephon Diggs and Danielle Hunter and whoever the hell else you want to sign in the future, especially because it's a one-year deal. And then, no kidding you, no BSing you, about a half hour after I was done with that, because I got my producer, Aaron Roberts, out in San Diego for, he's the CEO, basically the owner of Blue Vision Entertainment Productions. So what I do is, after I'm done recording, I load these videos up. And loading these videos up, man, it's like this angle and that. It is a pain in the ass, because especially when you have a home Wi-Fi system, right? It takes like a half hour for each camera angle to upload. But you know what? That's just the price of admission that I want to give to you folks. And again, thank you guys for liking the show, watching it, listening, what have you. So anyway, after I'm done, about a half hour, I already uploaded one angle of a camera video. I'm like, this is going to be great. I can move on with the rest of my day, go on, do work, and then we'll have the YouTube uploaded tomorrow, and no big deal. A half hour later, after I recorded that this is the second time I'm recording today. A half hour after I recorded that first podcast this morning, I get an alert on my phone. Richie Incognito got into an altercation where cops were involved. Cops got called in an altercation between Richie Incognito and some other guy at a Florida gym, right? Allegedly threw a dumbbell at a dude and told the dude, get off my effing playground. Are you serious right now? And look, I don't want to dismiss the fact that maybe this dude needs some help. Maybe he does, okay? But I'm just a little bit confused, quite honestly, because, again, you go from a pariah in Miami where it's like, I don't know. I would look, here's the thing. Greg Hardy, prime example. Great pass rusher he was. Went through that domestic violence situation. I said absolutely. And he was a free agent after he was, I don't know if he was cut from Carolina or what have you. I said absolutely not. He's a free agent. I don't give a damn. I don't want him on this team. It was different for Richie Incognito because you went from Miami, and after Miami, I was like, oh, screw that, dude. You can F off. Forget that. But then you have a track record of the last 3 years in Buffalo where you apparently a model citizen. You turned your life around. You have received unwavering support from your teammates and coaching staff. So that's why I'm just a little bit confused by that, because then you go from that and just being celebrated, and then you come back, you unretire, you come back, you're ready to play. This is your chance. You're a free agent. You're going to get offers left and right. And you go out and do this, and I look like a jackass. I look like a moron sitting here just clamoring. I'm a black dude sitting here basically fighting for this dude to come to the Vikings after all that stuff he said. But again, I think you got to be very careful as far as holding stuff in the past, especially if they've turned their life around. I say that about Michael Vick all the time. After he did his time in prison for the dogfighting ring and all that stuff, everybody's got their own opinion about that. But he served his time and he came back, went on multiple teams, and every team he went to, everybody was like, oh, screw this dude. And I'm like, well, he did his time, but, you know, it is what it is. But I'm sitting here right now. I'm like, are you serious right now? I wrote an article. I sat here and just did a damn podcast about you, and you go off and do this? I was completely ticked off. My wife was right there, and I just screamed. I screamed to high heaven. She was like, what's going on? I was like, Richie Incognito. She was like, oh, did he sign with someone? I'm like, no. He went out and got arrested for throwing a dumbbell at somebody, allegedly, for throwing a dumbbell at somebody. Come on, man. So, I mean, I hope the dude gets the help he needs. As far as everything I said before, oh, bring him in, I retract the hell out of that statement. I don't want this dude anywhere near this team, because even if he was to get himself back together after that situation that just happened today that was reported by TMZ, you are officially a distraction again. You're officially a distraction again after you weren't that for the last 3 years. And Mike Zimmer doesn't want to deal with that. I don't blame him for not wanting to go after him or Rick Spielman. Maybe they considered it before. I definitely don't believe they should consider it now. So anyway, I don't know. With the rest of this offensive line, it is what it is. I thought a golden opportunity was presented to itself with Richie Incognito being a free agent, but I was wrong. And you know what? I'm not sitting here. I wasn't trying to ignore stuff that he did in the past or gloss over stuff. He was a good dude for 3 years, and then he screwed up right away 48 hours after being a free agent. So the way the offensive line is constructed right now, we'll just have to see. I do believe it's patchwork at the end of the day. But again, with the projected starting lineup that I'm saying, as far as Riley Reif, Nick Easton, Pat Elflein, Mike Remmers, and Rashad Hill, they could be very good. I'm not poo-pooing on the fact that they could be very good. But if one of those dudes go down, you're looking at possible glimpses of 2016 all over again, where you got to grind for every yard and every score that you have. And for the $84 million quarterback that you've invested in. And it's funny, some of the feedback that I got from the last podcast that I did, I don't know, because like I said, if you're looking for me to just sing the Vikings praises all the time and wave my purple pom-poms all the time, oh, the Vikings are great, nothing to see here, oh, the Vikings are amazing, oh my God, they can do no wrong, then you're following the wrong person. But I'm saying the track history we have with the offensive line that Rick Spielman has had has been piss poor. And the fact that you ignored Joe Berger retiring, you had a month's notice to address that, and you didn't during the draft. My thing is, you know what? It is what it is. We'll have to see. You should have protected Kirk Cousins. You should, and at least add valuable depth to that, and you didn't do that. You got a project lineman and a project tackle in Brian O'Neill. He's not expected to start right away. So you're talking about a year out. I just think, I did say before this on Facebook.com/RealisticRandy. You can follow me on there where I interact with all the followers there. And definitely, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just go ahead and hit me up there. But somebody was saying, hey, what are you projecting the record to be? And this was before the draft. So this was after the free agency period where you signed Kirk Cousins and you signed Eric Hendricks to an extension. You signed Sheldon Richardson. And my thing was, I do expect Rick Spielman, he's learned his lesson before. I was a big-time critic of him for not addressing the offensive line the last couple of years. He's definitely learned his lesson, and he didn't. But anyway, before the draft, I said the baseline for this team, realistically, I felt was 11-5. Now, with the issues with the offensive line, it could be good. But, again, if somebody goes down, it's a little bit shaky there. You never know. I would say the baseline at this point after the draft, and then with Richie Incognito, just, I don't know, he needs some help. I hope he gets it. I would say the baseline should be 10-6. 10-6 should be the baseline. 11-5, I would have said it. I did say it before the draft, but now with still question marks at the offensive line, I would say 10-6 should be the base. That should be the worst case scenario as far as what you should finish. So anyway, we do this once a week. Mediokr at Best Sports Podcast with Realistic Randy. I appreciate all you guys that listen in. YouTube, iTunes, you can subscribe there. We will see you next week.
Is T1.